Hello, my name is Neil and I am back with another episode of Around the World in 7 Days. In our previous episode, we narrated the story of friendship between two enemy countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia. In today's episode, we will take a stock of the friendship between Japan and South Korea. In today's special episode, in addition to the main story, we will also talk about some other important international news events. But first, the main story. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol visited Japan on 16th and 17th of this month. This was the first time in the last 12 years that a South Korean president has visited Japan. Both the countries are not on cordial terms, and the reason for this lies in the history. And this historical animosity continues to plague the current relations. The effect of these strained relations was seen even during the Tokyo Olympics of 2020. Therefore, this visit of President Yoon Suk Yeol to Japan is of great significance from geopolitical perspective. This is being seen as an initiative to resolve the growing dispute between the two countries. The United States has also welcomed this decision. But why? Why the United States is welcoming this decision? Let's analyze. Actually, America was already trying to mend the ties between Japan and South Korea so that both the countries can jointly counter China and North Korea in the region. Now that the South Korean president has visited Japan after a gap of 12 years, it will definitely act as an icebreaker, and consequently it is being seen as a major geopolitical shift. Thus arise two pertinent questions. First, what impact will this change have on the geopolitics of Asia? Second, what is the historical dispute which we just referred to between Japan and South Korea that worsened their ties to such an extent? We will move ahead by answering the second question first. You might have read that in 1945, when America launched a nuclear attack on Japan, the Second World War came to an end. The major reason for this was that Japan was a very powerful country, and as soon as it laid down its arms, the war came to an end. Here, it's worth noting that Japan was also an imperialistic country and it ruled Korea from 1910 to 1945. When the Japanese surrendered in the Second World War, Korea became an independent country. Since Japanese occupation of Korea was also infamous for slavery, so once Korea became independent, this practice also came to an end. But as long as Japan occupied Korea, its oppression of the native people of Korea knew no bounds. Koreans were forced to work in factories. The number of such workers is said to be around 1.5 lakhs. Apart from this, the women there were also subjected to sexual abuse. Actually, the World War compelled millions of Japanese youths to enroll for military service and serve outside the country. To satisfy the physical and sexual needs of the soldiers, the Japanese government came up with the concept of comfort stations. These comfort stations were the places where Japanese soldiers would get food and drinks along with women to fulfill their intimate desires. And these women were primarily Korean. Generally, very young girls, at times girls of even tender age, were kept at these stations. These were called comfort women. The tyranny of the Japanese on the Koreans can be gauged from the fact that if a woman contracted a sexually transmitted disease, she was either burned to death or killed with the butt of a gun. It is said that since the Japanese soldiers did not want to waste even a single bullet on these slave girls, they used the butt of the gun to kill them. These wrongdoings of the Japanese army find their place among the most heinous and despicable acts recorded in human history. However, the turning point came when in recent years, South Korean victims of forced labor sued Japanese companies for reparations. Victims of sexual abuse also launched legal campaigns against Japan. However, for all these years, Japan has been stating that an agreement was reached in the year 1965, and under that, these issues were resolved. But despite all this, tensions between the two countries did not subside. According to media reports, the two countries have now come closer only after reaching an agreement that Japan will compensate for the cases of forced labor which took place during the war. So this brings us to the question that what will be the effect of this friendship on the geopolitics of Asia. When Japan and South Korea were unable to find a solution to this historical dispute, the former government of South Korea announced that it would withdraw from the Tri-Nation Military Information Sharing Agreement involving US and Japan. This trilateral agreement was officially named as the General Security of the Military Information Agreement. Since the agreement is critical to countering the North Korean nuclear threat, the South Korean withdrawal could jeopardize the security of the nation. Therefore, the United States was increasingly concerned that the security aspect of Japan-South Korea relationship would be at risk if the two countries did not come together. America is also facing challenges from China in the Indo-Pacific region. To counter China, it has formed the Quad Group. Apart from America, this group has India, Japan, and Australia. Currently, South Korea is also a key player in this region. On one hand, America shares a tensed relationship with both North Korea and China. On the other hand, both Japan and South Korea are major US allies in the region. In such a situation, America needs both Japan and South Korea to tackle the Chinese and North Korean challenges. But this can be possible only when the relations between Japan and South Korea are cordial. Therefore, the US has been trying its best to persuade both Japan and South Korea to resolve all their historical differences amicably so that they can develop a common front against China. That's why Biden also went on a trip to South Korea and Japan last year. It is believed that coming together of Japan and South Korea will further strengthen America's hold in the region. In recent years, America has been trying to bring its allies together to control the growing influence of China. With the coming together of Japan and South Korea, it can be said that these efforts have definitely started bearing fruits. But it is also true that due to China's increasing dominance in the Indo-Pacific region, including the South China Sea, Japan and South Korea have understood that it will not be easy to deal with a power like China alone in this fast-changing power equation. However, to what extent this friendship of Japan and South Korea can reduce China's dominance remains to be seen. And now it's turn for the Sunday special segment of this program in which we talk about other important international news events. Recently, the India's Ministry of External Affairs released its annual report in which it has criticized China and Pakistan. The report has accused China of trying to change the status quo on the LAC, that is line of actual control, since the Galwan Valley conflict in 2020. Due to this, peace and tranquility in the border areas have been seriously affected. The report further states that these Chinese efforts have received a befitting response from the Indian armed forces. However, both sides, that is India and China, have agreed that till the boundary issue is completely resolved, the maintenance of peace and tranquility on the borders would be an essential basis for the overall development of bilateral relations. Regarding Pakistan, it has been said in the report that there has been no decrease in the state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. Also, Pakistan has not yet shown seriousness in providing justice to the families of the victims of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. Further, it states that our Western neighbor is engaged in running hostile and fabricated propaganda to defame India and to divert attention from its domestic political and economic failures. Although India aspires to normalize its relations with Pakistan, and it has been India's constant endeavor that if there is any issue, it should be resolved bilaterally and peacefully in an environment free from terrorism and violence, the onus is on Pakistan to create such a conducive environment. In another major development, the US Senate has passed a resolution recognizing the McMahon Line as the international border between India and China. Along with this, America has also recognized Arunachal Pradesh as an integral part of India. According to the US Senate, at a time when China is posing serious threats to a free and open Indo-Pacific, it is imperative for the US to stand shoulder to shoulder with its strategic partners in the region, especially India. Apart from this, China's military aggression to change the status quo on LAC has been condemned. The resolution also appreciated India's stand against the Chinese aggression and security threats. Recently, America, Britain, and Australia revealed a plan to build a new fleet of nuclear-powered submarines in the Indo-Pacific region. In this, Australia will purchase nuclear submarines from the US under the AUKUS agreement. After this, these submarines will be deployed in the Indian Ocean. However, China has expressed its strong objection to this. It has called this agreement fallacious and dangerous, which will affect international peace and may take a hit at the idea of nuclear non-proliferation. Significantly, AUKUS is described as a security partnership between US, UK, and Australia. The officially stated motive of this grouping is to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific, but China considers it against itself. So that's all in today's episode. See you again on Wednesday. But before that, let's note down today's question. The question is, Japan-South Korea friendship is a major geopolitical change in the Indo-Pacific region that will also benefit India. Do you agree? Elaborate.